I bet you didn't know the Council of Nicaea shaped the very foundation of Christianity. Are you curious about the council that defined Christian doctrine? Let's unravel the secrets. Why are they hiding ancient scrolls and stolen texts down under the Vatican? Access to the Vatican archives is restricted for several reasons. The archives contain a vast collection of secret ancient documents that are centuries old, that would connect the religion straight back to ancient Kemet. They can't let that happen. Limited access helps ensure the truth never get out to the public. The First Council of Nicaea is one of the most significant events in the history of the Christian Church, and it would affect European history for years to come. According to the Bible, the term Christian was first used in Antioch to describe followers of Jesus Christ. In Acts 11:26 it reads, "And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that for a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught many people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch." The term was used as an insult by non-Christian Gentiles. Gentile is a word that today usually means someone who is not Jewish. Other groups that claim Israelite heritage, notably Mormons, have historically used the term Gentile to describe outsiders. More rarely, the term is used as a synonym for heathen or pagan. The word stems from the Hebrew term goy, which means a nation, and was applied to non-Hebrew law-keeping nations. The plural, goyim, especially with the definite article, hagoyim, the nations, meant nations of the world that were not Hebrew. Gentile simply means heathen, signifying someone who is not following the laws of Moses and the Jewish religion as understood by the Hebrews. The suffix "ian" in Christian is Latin and means "of the party of." The term was used to describe those who supported or imitated a figure. The term was used to express sarcasm or derision. Keep in mind, the name Christianity didn't apply to Yeshua's followers until after his alleged death. Did you know the oldest known Christian church in the world was found in sub-Saharan Africa, in Ethiopia's Beta Samati settlement? It is said that it dates back to the BC. But they lie and say the 4th century AD. Why? Because they don't want to tell you they got Christianity from Africans. Christianity originates out of Ethiopia, coming down from the Dogon people, who were taught by the Nomos people, fish gods. The Dogon people are one of the original groups of what they are calling ancient Egyptians. The whole story of Christianity, come from the story of Tammuz, was also called in tones Horus, Theos, Yeshua, Isa, Jesus, Christos, the son of Dumuzi, who is called Osiris, Usir, Dionysiadest, and Eli or Elo, and the Abba of Tammuz or Obatala. Dumuzi or Osiris is son of Enki. Enki is son of the Heavenly Father, son of the Heavenly One, Anu. Many other beings have used or stolen these titles. Let's connect them. Keep in mind, Nicaea is a play on the order of the essence. Here's how it all went down. This is the messed up truth of the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea was the first ecumenical council of the Christian Church. It is very important to clarify exactly what role the Emperor Constantine played in the Council of Nicaea, what the purpose for the council was, what happened at Nicaea, and briefly how the canon, the Bible as we know it, was formed. Constantine was a Roman emperor who lived from 274 to 337 AD. He is most famous for becoming the single ruler of the Roman Empire after deceiving and defeating Licinius, his brother-in-law, and supposedly converting to Christianity. It is debated whether or not Constantine was actually a believer, according to his confessions and understanding of the faith, or just someone trying to use the church and the faith to his own advantage. The council was convened in 325 CE by Emperor Constantine the Late, generally regarded as the first Christian Roman emperor. He held the council in the ancient city of Nicaea. While not literally every bishop in the world was actually present, tradition holds that 318 attended, largely representing the eastern portion of the church. Notably absent was Pope Sylvester I, who did at least send a few representatives on his behalf. The Council of Nicaea, before this occurred, there were several different competing views of Christ. Then the Emperor Constantine assembled them all together to decide theological dispute on one view of Christ. What this means is that bishops from the entire known world of Christianity came together for the first time to discuss major issues affecting the faith. The goal: to settle a heated debate about the nature of their new Jesus Christ. Not the Yeshua the Messiah, but Paul's new Jesus. Was he divine, human, or both? We find Jesus making bold claims like, "Whoever has seen me has seen the Father." He said things like, "Before Abraham was I am, or I and the Father are one," which sound a whole lot like claiming to be God. But then you have other statements like he grew in wisdom and stature, or the firstborn of all creation, which muddy the waters a bit, adding on to these New Testament phrases, the ardent monotheism of the Old Testament. And it's easy to imagine a situation of confusion over whether Jesus was really God. And that's exactly where we are headed when we start talking about why the Council of Nicaea happened. What really happened in the year 311? You see, a Moor named Arius from North Africa, who they whitewashed in history, became a Cyrenaic presbyter and ascetic. Also keep in mind the first 36 popes were dark-skinned beings. But nonetheless, Arius the Moor was concerned that people were attributing to Jesus a false divinity and therefore blaspheming God. Arius believed that Jesus was the greatest creature to ever live, but he was nevertheless a created being. There was, after all, only one God concerned to get this message out to the world. Arius the Moor began composing songs about Jesus' nature that sailors carried across the Roman world. Soon the entire church was engaged in this debate for various rivals. The idea that Jesus was a created being was heresy. Jesus was not a created being, he was God. This heresy needed to be dealt with before it corrupted the Christian religion. Emperor Constantine, a recent convert to Christianity, became concerned that this debate would soon tear apart the empire. One way or another, it needed to be settled one and for all. Arius the Moor has been regarded as the founder of Arianism, which holds that Jesus Christ was not co-eternal with God the Father, but was rather created before time. Arian theology and its doctrine regarding the nature of the Godhead showed a belief in radical subordinationism, a view notably disputed by 4th century figures such as Athanasius of Alexandria. Constantine the Great's formal decriminalization of Christianity into the Roman Empire entailed the convention of ecumenical councils to remove theological divisions between opposing sects within the Church. Arius's theology was a prominent topic at the First Council of Nicaea, where Arianism was condemned in favor of homoousian conceptions of God and Jesus. Homoousios is a Greek word meaning of the same substance. It is used to describe the relationship between Jesus and God the Father in most denominations of Christianity. Opposition to Arianism remains embodied in the Nicene Creed, described as a deliberately anti-Arian document. Nevertheless, despite concerted opposition, Arian churches persisted for centuries throughout Europe, especially in various Germanic kingdoms, the Middle East and North Africa. They were suppressed by military conquest or by voluntary royal conversion between the 5th and 7th centuries. So, in 321 AD, a local council declared Arius the Moor as a heretic. A heretic is someone whose beliefs or actions are considered wrong by the church standards because they disagree with beliefs that are generally accepted. Arius was considered a heretic and was ridiculed and ostracized for his ideas. Synonyms: nonconformist, dissident, separatist, sectarian, more synonyms of heretic. However, Arius just moved underground, low-key, and behind the curtain, promoting his propaganda. Propaganda is communication that is primarily used to influence or persuade an audience to further an agenda, which may not be objective and may be selectively presenting facts to encourage a particular. Arius gained a larger following, and over the course of the next few years the debate became so intense that he gained the attention of Emperor Constantine. Constantine, who had just unified the empire, didn't want anything that would threaten division and his rule with an iron fist. Constantine saw the debate between the Christians and Arius as a threat to the stability of the empire. Constantine moved to settle it. They consider Arius a bad apple. Gnosticism had mostly died out by this point, and the majority of those professing to be Christians were Orthodox Christians. Gnosticism is a religious and philosophical movement that originated in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE. It was a collection of Christian sects that emphasized personal spiritual knowledge over religious institutions. Orthodox Christians are members of one of the three main Christian traditions, along with Roman Catholicism and Protestantism. They believe that Jesus Christ is both fully human and fully divine. Some people were scared to show up, those who backed Arius the more, so there was not a wide variety of different views of the council, although Constantine originally invited over 1,800 bishops from across the empire. Only around 300 were able to attend. Most of them were from the east, with only about a dozen representing the west. Now, it should be remembered what happened to these men. Less than 2 decades ago, most of them suffered through one of the greatest Christian persecutions of all time. Many of them faced brutal torture and imprisonment for their faith. So, despite the modern view about the participants of the council, they were not the type of men who were fine with compromising their beliefs, especially if a few years earlier they were willing to die for them. These bishops actually assembled in Nicaea to confirm what they had already believed in dealing with Arius and his teachings. Now there were 3 parties at the council. The smallest was Arius and a handful of bishops that agreed with him that the Father and Jesus were of different substance. The second in much larger group was the Orthodox group, led by Hoseas of Cordova and Alexander of Alexandria. Also in this group was a young deacon, Athanasius. Athanasius I of Alexandria, also called Athanasius the Great, Athanasius the Confessor, or among Coptic Christians, Athanasius the Apostolic, was a Christian theologian and the 20th Pope of Alexandria. Constantine officially called the council together in 325 AD in order to address issues of division within the church. He hoped to re-establish peace religiously, as he had just done politically, by defeating his imperial rival Licinius. Licinius was a Roman emperor from 308 to 324. For most of his reign, he was the colleague and rival of Constantine I, with whom he co-authored the Edict of Milan. They met for days, fighting and bickering, until finally the current view of Christianity won, and the divinity of Christ was declared. The council affirmed Jesus as both divine and human, condemning Arianism, which claimed Jesus was merely a created being. Keep in mind, the letter J was introduced in 1524 by Italian grammarian monk named Gian Giorgio Trissino. Before that, J and I were considered the same letter, even though they sounded different. Point in fact that Yahshua name could have never been Jesus. He really got it from the letter Lam in Hebrew is called lamed and is written Azel, as in the lamb. We will get into how they came up with the name Jesus later. The significance? The Council of Nicaea was a landmark moment establishing key beliefs and practices that resonate through the Christian church even now. They crafted the Nicene Creed, a declaration of faith still recited today. Ever wondered why Easter is when it is? Thank the Council of Nicaea for standardizing its observance. But it wasn't just about theology. The Council also laid down early canon law, the rules governing church conduct. So, why does this matter? The Council of Nicaea was a milestone in defining Christian beliefs and practices, shaping the faith for millennia. Orthodox view used its power to stop out and erase all other competing views of Christianity. Let's start with events that led up to the council on February 24th in 303 AD. The worst persecution of Christians began into the Emperor Diocletian and lasted until Emperor Galerius finally issued a general edict of tolerance in 311 AD. 2 years later, in 313 AD, with the Edict of Milan, the Emperor Constantine finally legalized Christianity and allowed its practice. Constantine did not make Christianity the official religion of the empire. He simply commanded official tolerance of Christianity. He did, however, outlaw dark-skinned Jews and gladiator shows. Although they did persist until the 5th century, it wasn't until 380 AD, under the Emperor Theodosius, that Christianity was left as the only legal religion. Shortly after Christianity was made legal, Arius began preaching the idea that Jesus was not God, but a created being. He gained the following and began disputing with Alexander, the Bishop of Alexandria.